Hi, today I would like to show you my Yeethammer that I printed and made in the last couple of days. The Yeethammer, of course, is by Spyr or Spyr Makes, I'm not entirely sure how that's pronounced. And I got my hardware kit from Bearswares US. I'll put a link to both in the description. For transparency's sake, I wanted to order the hardware kit. It didn't ship to Germany on the website. I asked if he could ship it to Germany, and he was like, I'll just send it to you, but you pay the shipping. So yeah, I paid $20 for the hardware kit, which is pretty much just the shipping. So I got the hardware for free, more or less. So yeah, not quite sponsored the video, but I'll put a link in the description either way. And was very nice of him to do that. I don't get a lot of hardware in Germany anyways. So the only part I couldn't really source was the threaded rod and the plunger tube and the spring. The rest would be doable, but yeah, pretty hard. Good, let's get to it. Operation. You pull this back, this opens, you shove in a shell, you close it again, you fire. It's pretty simple, it's a single shot shotgun, essentially. So let's start simple. A single elite start. This has quite a lot of pop, but not a lot of performance with most of these shells. That's due to the plunger tube is not that small, it's a Talon Claw plunger tube, but if you look at the shells, you just have, a barrel length of whatever the length of the shell is, so you're not using a lot of that power. Where that goes better is if you're trying to move more mass through that short barrel. So this thing plays pretty well with mega darts. I could cut these short, but I won't, because then they won't work in my other mega darts, and this is my only silly shell blaster. Thank you, Steam Deck. And yeah, it doesn't make sense to cut them in this thing. So, yeah, mega darts work nicely. The shell ejection is absolutely amazing. I should probably put a mat down here so I don't have this clattering all the time. But yeah, let's keep firing some mega shells. Caught it. And dropped it. I'm clumsy as hell sometimes. There we go. Yeah. Let's talk about the build a little bit before I continue firing. The build all in all was really nice. Was a real treat to see some of those techniques employed. Uses printed flat bar, which is great for people like me because I cannot get metric flat bar. So if more people did that and used more uniform parts, that would make sourcing parts way easier for Europeans or other places in the world. So yeah, really good practice. You need a big printer for that, of course, but I like it a lot. That's why I use it a lot. Also nice parts are, there are these little clips with tension springs that are printed, and you put a nut into that, an M3 nut, and you put it in a slot. That completely replaces the need for how they call heat set inserts in this thing. So no heat sets, which is really nice and also really great for reassembling this thing because I had to take it apart a couple of times. I'll talk about that later. And yeah, another nice part of this thing, there are magnets on these tracks here. So, and also on this thing. So you notice as you push it back, there, it rocks into its rearmost position. And it also has that up front. And due to all the magnets in there, all of this feels really nice, clicky and satisfying, which is honestly great because I like haptic feedback and that has a lot of haptic feedback. So really great. Other parts I kind of want to do later on is take this part and make it more into a long barrel. I don't know how well that would play with the opening and closing mechanic of it, if it wouldn't like weigh it down and pull it out of the seal. But yeah, let's talk about the seal. I had a couple of issues with this thing not really fitting, so I had to like take an entirely I had to take a different O-ring and Dremel that out a little bit so it still sits in nicely. So yeah, it had some sealing issues in the beginning. Also, I don't know if you can see it. I put some electric tape. That is supposed to be a little printed nub with an O-ring around, and put electric tape around it and then the O-ring over it to make it seal well. But yeah, now it seals. Pretty nice. There's also takedown. So you unscrew that. That's just a printed part with an inserted nut into it. You can see it there. You unscrew that and then you can pull that out and take this entire rear assembly off that houses the catch, the spring guide, the plunger tube guide, like the entire plunger tube specs, so it has to go back there. And that way you can do pretty easy spring maintenance, O-ring maintenance. And in my case, my spring was just a tad bit too short, like 1 or 2 millimeters. And I printed a quick and dirty spacer. I don't know if I had an early prototype over here. It's just a spacer like that for the plunger rod to go through and provide a little more tension. So now it can't rattle when it's primed. It doesn't rattle anymore. Before it rattled a little bit, but nothing unfixable. Entirely fine in my opinion. Right, that's that. Build is really nice, although it's not very well documented, but I'm sure someone will get around to it at some point. Was a lot of fun to puzzle it together, to be honest. This entire front part here can be removed, so you can put on a proper front grip, which I might do at some point. This thing looks cool, but it's not too comfortable. So you hold on to this, and this is all pretty... I don't know, I would like to hold it here, up front, but then I'm pretty close to the bore, so not great. I'll put on a regular foregrip on there later. On the topic of attachments, I've put something on my printables for this thing. After printing, I've noticed this thing is suspiciously Perry the Platypus colored. Wait, no, it's currently only platypus colored. Hang on. There we go, Perry the Platypus colored. I just made a Picatinny attachment hat that you can friction fit on there. So it looks like the fedora from Perry the Platypus. And if you don't make it platypus colored, you can still tip your fedora at people when you reload. Yeah, perfect attachment for Discord moderators. Okay, let's continue. I'll just shoot a couple different shells now. This is rival. I don't like the rival shell too much because it has a ton of friction in there, and I'm not even sure all 3 balls are going to fly out. They do. That worked nicely. But yeah, it's always a bit hit or miss with those shells. Let's try something more classic, Triple Elite. Those work really well. They have a nice little spread, so if you look at over there, that just went in a pretty high velocity, might I add, in a nice spread, so you can probably tag people out with that fairly easily. I sadly don't have any Mega XL Ultra or anything like that, so I cannot show you that, but this thing also feeds up to Mega XL, which is honestly impressive. Now we have Triple Elite shells, but filled with 6 short dots. That works pretty nicely. Another one. Okay, what else do we have? We have 8 50 cal Vulcan balls. Those are from my Firefly. So as you saw, that went absolutely everywhere and not very fast. So I would advise you to print the version. Oh god, that was my foot. The version I just shot had 2 barrels side by side. I would advise you use the one with 1 barrel, then everything will go loose. But I think the spread will go down, which is, I don't know. I like the spread, it just went everywhere, which is kind of nice. And since all these shells have really short barrels, this is the bottlenose. It's kind of a long rifled printed barrel, and it makes single mega, I say, elite go from, I don't know, about 100 as it leaves, go up to 165 to 170 in this specific one with the spring spacer in there. So that has a ton of pop and will probably hurt a little bit. These really like flying out. So there are shells that prevent the ejection. So I'll probably print one of those soon and make one with a dedicated that just stays in. So I can single load, close, fire, single load, close, fire, without trying to catch my barrel and shove it back in. Put some aluminium tube in there and stuff. All right. Yeah, that's pretty much one of... well, I have another pretty similar blaster, which is, of course, the old Sledgefire. That's chopped up, printed up, and the barrel has been removed and I replaced it with a printed one. So, yeah, if you have this, it kind of feels extremely anemic compared to a Yeethammer. So yeah, if you like the Sledgefire, you're gonna like this thing. In terms of performance, for just 3 Vulcan bolts for a tight spread, I still prefer my Firefly because it just shoots those 3 balls at 200 FPS or something in a relatively tight spread. So for long range, that thing is just better. But for the sheer amount of versatility this thing offers, in a competitive match, I don't think it would do that well, but in just park games, HVZ, shield users, whatever you have, you can just use a vest and just tack on holders for these little shells, run around like the demo man, and you have this fancy little thing. I like it a lot. So, well, yeah, I can just recommend it, to be honest. I hope Spyr makes more of those funny shell-fed things. I don't know who, I'm not a plunger tube guy, but what would be really cool at some point would be like a silly shell thing with a big rotating drum with like 8 shots or something that looks like the softball from Titanfall or something like that. Have I mentioned I like Titanfall? Anyways, yeah, styling, very cool, a lot of little detail. Like you can see that everywhere here. Even the tools that you had to print out to get the magnets all in place, they all had greebles on them. So it was really impressive to even see greebles inside where you can't see them in the end product, but it's still greebled out there. So I designed blasters myself. I can only say that is so much effort, and I really appreciate someone actually taking that time and making stuff like that. So yeah, really impressive. I like it a lot. Yeah, that would be that. I'll of course put in a link in the description to both the files for the Yeethammer, so you can print your own. I'll put in the link to the files for the hat, in case you want a hat for your blaster. And of course, I'll also put in a link to Bear's Wares shop. So yeah, again, thank you Bear guy for sending me the parts. And I'm sorry for our customs making your life hard. Okay, that would be that. I thank you for watching, and yeah, goodbye.